There's a quiet enemy in your life. It doesn't scream. It doesn't break windows or steal anything obvious. But it just sits there. It wraps itself around your habits. It whispers false safety into your routines. And the worst part, you thank it. You think it's protecting you. But in truth, it's slowly draining your potential. It's the comfort zone. And it's not just a lifestyle choice. It's a psychological and spiritual trap, one that disguises itself as peace, but underneath quietly leads to decay. I want you to think about this. Why do we stop growing even when we say we want more? Why do we self-sabotage the moment life begins to expand? Why do we cling to relationships, jobs, and patterns that deep down we know are shrinking us? The answer is simple but hard to swallow, because growth demands death. And the comfort zone promises you can keep living without ever having to die to who you were. But that's the trap. You don't grow without shedding. You don't evolve without pain. So when you avoid discomfort, you're not protecting yourself, but you're postponing the life you were born for.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more topics you love.
Let's take a breath and really sit with this. How much of your daily life is made up of repetition disguised as stability? Same conversations, same food, same thought loops, same safe arguments with the same safe people. You tell yourself you're being consistent. But consistency without expansion becomes stagnation. You start losing your spark. You lose creativity. You lose curiosity. You stop noticing sunsets. You scroll more but feel less. And then you wonder why life feels so hollow. You weren't born to be stable. You were born to expand. You were born to break your own limitations again and again until what once terrified you becomes your new normal. But here's where it gets psychological. Your brain is wired for efficiency, not growth. It wants to conserve energy. It wants predictable outcomes. So when you start doing something new, scary, or uncertain, the mind panics. It floods you with fear, resistance, excuses. It doesn't care about your dreams. It cares about survival. So the comfort zone isn't just emotional, it's neurological. And unless you rewire your relationship with fear, you'll unconsciously choose the familiar pain over unfamiliar possibility. Now ask yourself this: are you truly living, or just slowly dying in a routine that no longer fits who you're becoming? Let's go deeper. There's a myth that comfort equals happiness. But in practice, comfort often equals numbness. And numbness is not peace, it's avoidance. It's the dull ache of potential ignored. You binge watch to forget. You scroll because silence feels threatening. You fill your schedule so you don't have to sit with the existential truth that something inside you is screaming for more. But more doesn't come wrapped in ease. It comes in disruption. It comes in risk. In choosing the uncomfortable conversation. In ending what's good enough so you can make space for what's sacred. Jung once said, "Man needs difficulties. They are necessary for health." Think about that. Difficulties are not obstacles to life. They are life. They stretch us. They humble us. They sharpen us. The caterpillar has to dissolve to become the butterfly. It literally becomes mush. And yet we resist every moment of dissolving. We run from discomfort like it's the enemy. But what if discomfort isn't the threat, it's the compass? What if the most uncomfortable place is the exact place your soul is pointing toward. Here's the deep philosophical paradox. The more we crave comfort, the more we become fragile. Like a muscle never used, like a sword never drawn. We forget how to sit in uncertainty, how to fail and bounce back, how to be rejected and still know our worth. We become spiritually brittle, and that brittleness shows up as overthinking, avoidance, and fake positivity. We tell ourselves, "It's fine, I'm content." But contentment without challenge becomes denial. And denial breeds resentment toward others, toward life, toward ourselves. Let's bring this back to you. What are you avoiding right now that you know would expand you if you faced it? What have you been telling yourself, "I'll do when I'm ready"? Knowing that you'll never feel ready, because ready isn't a feeling, it's a decision. The toxic comfort zone doesn't announce itself. It camouflages as logic, responsibility, even self-care. But if your comfort is killing your creativity, your growth, your relationships, then it's not care, it's self-abandonment. And no one can rescue you from it. Because here's the part that hits hard: no one's coming. There's no mentor, no partner, no breakthrough moment that will lift you out of the stagnation if you're still clinging to the illusion of safety. You have to choose discomfort. You have to make it a practice. And it starts small. Say the thing you're afraid to say. Sign up for something that scares you. Start waking up earlier and facing your morning without distraction. Begin with a micro, because discomfort compounds, just like atrophy does. Every moment you choose to stretch instead of shrink, you become someone new, someone capable of holding more, someone ready to meet life instead of hiding from it. And don't get it twisted, this isn't about hustle or grind culture. It's not about being productive, it's about being alive, fully, unapologetically. It's about being willing to feel everything, even the parts that scare you. Because feeling fully means living fully. And that's the ultimate rebellion in a world addicted to comfort. So let me ask you something that could change everything. If nothing around you ever changed, no new job, no new partner, no external shift, would you still choose to change you? Would you still choose the path that scares you because it also awakens you? Because if you can say yes to that, you've already begun your escape from the comfort zone. You've already cracked the illusion. And on the other side of that illusion is a life so much richer, deeper, more exhilarating than anything safe could offer. But first, you have to be willing to burn the old map. The most dangerous part of living in the comfort zone isn't the stagnation you can see, it's the erosion you can't. Because when you settle into a life that no longer challenges you, what's dying first isn't your ambition. It's your imagination, your wonder, your hunger. Bit by bit, your soul begins to dim, not with a bang, but with a slow, invisible suffocation. And the scariest part, you can still function, you can still smile, you can still look fine. That's what makes it so insidious. It hides behind the mask of a normal life. You stop dreaming big not because you failed, but because you've unconsciously calibrated your life around avoiding failure. You start choosing the predictable over the powerful. And slowly your days become echoes of each other. Safe, polite, dull. But deep down, something starts to ache. Not a surface pain, but a kind of existential nausea. The kind of nausea that comes from betraying your own expansion. You know it. That feeling that you're meant for more, but you keep brushing it off because acting on it would require risk. And risk feels dangerous when comfort has been your drug. Let's pause here. How often do you lie to yourself just to maintain the illusion of control? How often do you say, "I'm just grateful," when really you're stuck? How often do you convince yourself it's not the right time when really you're just afraid to lose what's familiar? We justify safety as wisdom, but sometimes the wisest thing you can do is jump without knowing how it ends. Because here's the deeper truth: playing it safe doesn't protect your potential. It kills it slowly, silently, and with your full permission. Philosophically, this is where the comfort zone becomes a form of spiritual death. Kierkegaard called it the sickness unto death, a state of despair that isn't loud or dramatic, but subtle and internal. The despair of not being who you could have been, not living in truth, not pursuing the calling that you feel, but can't explain. That is the real cost, and the longer you stay stuck, the more it calcifies. You don't just lose time, you lose alignment. And when you lose that, even success feels empty. There's something even more sinister. The comfort zone reshapes your identity. Over time, you start to become the version of yourself that's okay with less. You forget the wildness, the edge, the ferocity you once had. You start identifying with limits instead of possibility. And when that becomes your baseline, you begin teaching others, your kids, your friends, your community, that settling is normal, that safety is the goal, and that dreams are dangerous. And in that way, the comfort zone doesn't just cost you. It ripples, it infects, it teaches others to dim themselves too. Now here's the hard truth. If you've been stagnant for a long time, you might not even know what expansion feels like anymore. It might feel foreign, intimidating, even painful. Like stretching a muscle that's been asleep for years. And that's okay, because discomfort isn't a sign you're on the wrong path. It's a sign that you're waking up, that you're beginning to remember yourself. Remember when you used to want more? When you'd lie awake dreaming of creating something powerful, living somewhere else, speaking your truth boldly. That version of you didn't die. They just went dormant. And now they're knocking, asking if you're willing to let go of this quiet suffocation and breathe again. Really breathe. This is where philosophy meets action. Nietzsche didn't just ask us to think about life, he dared us to live it, to embrace chaos, to love fate, to become who we are through fire, not comfort. And we forget that fire doesn't always mean external obstacles. Sometimes it means choosing to feel the burn of letting go, or of ending the relationship that keeps you small, of quitting the job that kills your spirit, of starting the project that terrifies you. That's the heat that transforms. That's the fire that awakens. You might be asking, how do I break out if I've been stuck so long? How do I even begin? The answer isn't complex. It's courage. One act of courage creates a crack, and that crack lets in light. And that light shows you what else is possible. But here's the thing, courage won't feel like a roar. It'll feel like trembling hands, like tears, like doubt. That's normal. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing movement despite it, choosing truth over illusion, choosing aliveness over security. And this is the miracle of it all. Once you begin to move, the universe responds. Suddenly, synchronicities appear, people arrive, Ideas flow. Energy returns. Why? Because you're no longer blocking the current of your own becoming. You're no longer resisting life. You're partnering with it. And life rewards expansion. Not because it's easy, but because it's true. Ask yourself this: what if the fear you feel right now is actually the doorway to your next chapter? What if the discomfort is a sacred signal? What if your body is telling you there's more than this? Wake up. Will you listen? Or will you keep choosing the cage just because it's decorated with nice furniture? Because comfort zones don't look like prisons, but they are. And the key has always been in your pocket. Everything you want, everything you were born to do, is sitting just beyond one thing: fear. Not the dramatic kind you see in movies, but the quiet, subtle fear that whispers, "Don't do it. Stay here. Don't change." It shows up as hesitation, procrastination, overthinking. It's the friction between who you are and who you could be. And here's the paradox: the fear doesn't go away before you move. It goes away because you move. When you start walking toward what scares you, whether it's speaking your truth, quitting something safe, or simply showing up as your real self, you activate a forgotten part of your brain, your body, your soul. You remember that fear is not a wall. It's a threshold. It's the body's final test before transformation. And most people fail not because they're weak, but because they think fear means stop. But if you rewire that meaning, if you start believing fear means go, you unlock a level of power that most will never touch. So why is discomfort sacred? Because it breaks the illusion. It disrupts the autopilot. It shakes you out of the lie that you can keep growing while staying comfortable. You can't. All expansion comes with pain, but it's not the pain of destruction, it's the pain of birth. And when you understand that, discomfort becomes something you seek, not avoid. You begin to run toward it, not recklessly, but with reverence, with clarity, with the awareness that every fear you face is a gate to a life that actually feels like yours. Here's the ultimate question: do you want to live easy and die with regret, or live brave and die awake? Because if you choose brave, the fear won't stop you anymore. The comfort zone will lose its grip. And one day you'll look back and realize you didn't just escape stagnation. You reclaimed your life.